And to start with, I'd like to commend the president on her selection as chair of the Mohawk Valley Regional Economic Development Council. I think that's quite a feather in our hat.
That's right. That's about what it is, Phil.
Yeah, but
Thank you.
Very impressive.
It is, and particularly for Schoharie County to be represented, I think it's
Thank you.
neat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to welcome Cheyenne back. This is the first time we've had a council member for the second year.
I'm back.
You're setting all kinds of records.
She is.
I know, it's crazy.
Morning.
Hi.
Hey, Linda.
I made it.
I just said you might be late.
No.
Linda, we have a PowerPoint right now,
Right,
so
okay, let me go over here.
yeah, and then we'll bring you guys back.
So
to
I'd
the
like
meeting.
to, okay.
Morning.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 8th council meeting.
Someone.
Do I hear a second?
Second. Oh, okay.
You have that, Irene?
Yep, Phil second.
Any questions, any comments, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed, same sign, so carried. Okay, we'll start with, I blew this one totally. We have on our agenda, presentation of a resolution to Tim. We approved it last May, and I assumed everyone knew. It dawned on me last night, and I haven't had a computer or a telephone or off and on for about 3 weeks now, I guess. So it came on last night, so I popped an email to Tracy, and then I went in to turn it off about 11. It was off again. So, but Tim is busy picking mums this morning. So we're sorry he won't be here. But we have a very nice, it's all framed, and I'll ask Tracy to take it home with her. And we can just pass it around, and you can read it as we're having the meeting.
Yeah. Well, if I'd like to go on the record too, because it's important. When I first got here, it was a team of leaders, which included Olive and Tim, and literally took me under his wing and helped walk through foundation and help settle it and find exceptional people to be on it, and took his job as foundation president quite seriously. And so I have a personal thank you for him as well, and I wanted on record that if it wasn't for Tim Purcell, the foundation wouldn't be as strong as it is today. And I know John and Wendy feel that way, who've taken it over and taking it to the next level. And this foundation, because of Tim, is really ready to go to the next level now with John. So Tim has handed it off to really good folks. And I know we're going to announce, Wendy, where's Wendy? We're going to announce when it's your report, who the new president of the foundation is. So I just needed to add my congratulations to a very dedicated alum and his service to the college.
Yeah, in fact, Tim took over the council, as I remember one night during we were having the foundation gala or something, and things sort of blew up, and Tim came in and took over. And that was the start of it. So yes, we owe a lot to him, and also to Tracy for all they've done for the foundation and the college in general. Thank you so much.
And the community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Last Thursday night.
All right, we will start with the student government report. I'm not sure when you have to be out.
I'm gonna be the whole year. I'm gonna be here
The whole year, yeah.
the whole year. The whole time.
Okay, we can move you down under the pressure.
Yeah. What?
No, you're more important.
So, would you like me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm glad to be back the second year. It's been a very good first year as SGA president. I'm hoping to get even better in SGA, and we have a lot of cool things coming up. I wanted to tell you that we had a leadership retreat this summer where our officers went to Camp Oswegatchie with no service for 3 days, and 3 girls never been camping. So it was very stressful for them, but honestly, it pushed them to the limit of really bonding and thinking outside the box, and we had a lot of different team working things happen. So we really got to buckle down and plan out the semester, which we really wanted to do. So we have a lot of cool things coming up. But I just wanted to share with the council that our advocacy efforts that we are planning to pursue this semester. So I will just explain them and maybe get some of your feedback if you're willing. So we're working on advocating for faculty evaluations and course evaluations. We are working on to advocate for the Writing Center to come back here on campus. Recycling and garbage bins, we'd like them more on campus in the walkways because there's nothing right now for litter to be put down. And sustainability, there's no walkways of garbage bins. So we just want recycling and garbage bins right there in the walkway. International students inclusion and programming. We have a really good international student body here on campus, but they have yet to be tapped from SGA. I know they struggle a lot with different things that I'm not, privileged to even know. So we want to do some programming to kind of get to know them and to see where they would need some more support. So some support services for the international students. And then we're also working on a Gender Equity Act, where we'd like more bathrooms to be gender neutral here on campus. Mostly just gender neutral bathrooms right now, especially with the single stalls, and we want to advocate for that. We also are advocating for a common hour every day. That's something we'll talk with Sue about, will be another thing. For more students to be able to have those club meetings during the common hour and not be so packed on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and just very stretched thin. So while I'm around such, senior leaders here or, around the table, I want to know if there are any feedback or strategies that you could let me know what I should do for these different advocacy efforts and get your feedback. Does any of these touch your soul?
Good
Cheyenne, I just want to say what I think is great, and Deb Richards and I are actually meeting with your vice president today, so that we'll have regular meetings and can talk about some of these initiatives. So maybe you want to say a little bit about how you organize this year.
Something new for the SJ Executive Board this whole year is we paired them with a cabinet member with Dr. Ann's guidance, so they have a liaison directly with the cabinet, so it's not just me or maybe one other officer continuously having these meetings when issues come up. We can be more proactive and kind of give them the issues right bi-weekly. So we're trying to do bi-weekly right now, or once a month, as it allows, and I think that's a really good relationship to start having with the cabinet. Because the SJ Exec Boards, their officer positions align with the cabinet, especially for your position, with me, so I want it to be more of a strong relationship. So I'm glad you're having a meeting today. I do know that.
Yeah.
And we've invited the executive council to a cabinet meeting.
Yes.
So they'll be in part of that as well.
Yeah. Oh, exactly that. Which we're really excited for. A lot of schools do mirror that dynamic, so we wanted to pop in for the cabinet meeting, just so we can get our faces out there and build that relationship. So we're a stronger union, so.
Can I just point you, also LinkedIn has an article about student evaluations of faculty.
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
yeah.
I don't know if you've gotten to LinkedIn yet.
I actually had to make one for a class, so it
Had
sounds so
to.
silly. Had to, yeah. It's gonna, when I get there.
Is that why I'm getting a lot of student requests on my LinkedIn account now? I am. It must be that.
That's interesting. Okay, is that anything else for the writing center we really want back?
Good.
Yeah. It was
The
a
writing
really,
center and the sustainability effort.
yeah, the
Thumbs up,
sustainability
yeah.
effort. So that's why that liaisonship will be so important, with our PR, having one with you, Bonnie, for facilities. I know you have a different role now, but, so it wouldn't just have to be, one person,
Yeah.
like me, so,
It's great.
yeah.
And I, completely agree with you on the sustainability and the receptacles, and that's been a matter of money.
I know, yeah,
So maybe we can figure something out together.
yeah.
Can we
It's
have
not that we haven't been
campaign
doing
for that?
sustainability. We have a lot of sustainability efforts. We've been doing it a lot with energy in particular, so, it's not that it's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a physical garbage bin.
That's, yeah.
How can we get a little campaign? I would donate to get.
Really?
Well,
So
let,
Sustainability started in 1990, 2000 in liberal arts. So
well, we have this 7th generation series has started again, and that's about sustainability.
Maybe we can partner. This is why the liaisons are so important, so we can definitely talk about this in the future. This is what's happening this semester. there'll be more in the upcoming meetings. I'll definitely update you on these different advocacy efforts, but we're hoping to have a good year. That's it. Yeah. Oh, and Pizza of the Presidents next week, September 19th. We're still continuing that tradition. It's been fruitful, and that's next Thursday. You guys are totally welcome to come, by the way. It's 5:30 in Lower Brickyard. Free pizza. Technically not, it's like, we're all paying for it, but free pizza. And it's in Lower Brickyard. It's just an informal conversation to build a relationship between President Renzi and the students, and me and the students, and go over some concerns that might come up in this meeting.
Would you please announce to the council your role with what we just said?
Student assembly?
Yes.
So this summer I got a new role with the Student Assembly, and if you don't know what the Student Assembly is, it's like the SGAs of SGAs on the 64 campuses. I'm the Assistant Chief of Staff now, and it's a different role for me. I love it though. The team is so different. That's actually why I'm mirroring these different things here in SUNY Cobleskill to look at that dynamic, because it's working really well for SUNY SA. I'm really happy to do that this year, so it's another commitment I have, and I'm hoping to move up the chain.
They created the position for her. This is the major assembly through SUNY. No, they created that position for her.
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
Thank you. No, thank you.
it's a big deal.
Who's the SGA president?
SUNY SA? Austin Astro. Yeah, he goes to Albany right now. Master's. A lot of them are in their master program. That's why it was a real, an accomplishment for me. So it was like the comparison, I will be soon there, but not yet. Not yet.
Could we get the other council members up to the table? I think we can.
We have the slideshow that.
Come on.
I am.
I'll move over. I'm just worried about Marion, is my hair gonna be in the way?
I'll tell you one.
I mean, Erica is my way.
My hair's not.
We'll do this and then we can rearrange everybody because Sue, Scott.
Sure, do you want to sit here, Bonnie, and we can switch? You sure?
What we'll do is we'll go right into this report because then I will fill everybody in on other. This is the enrollment report. Bonnie, do you need to sit?
No, I'm good, thank you.
You want me to do this for you?
I think I'm okay, but thank you. Come on.
Yay.
Okay, yay.
Yay.
Okay, so I have a brief enrollment update for you, and then I don't know if you want to go right into capital. Okay. All right, the enrollment landscape is pretty bleak. This is data that comes from SUNY system-wide. It's not as of the opening of school, it's as of the end of June, but things haven't changed much. You'll see that every indicator, applications, deposits are down across the system, in-state, out-of-state, New York City. The only area that SUNY as a whole saw growth was in online program applications. Demographics, as you know, are changing. New York is seeing a population loss of high school age students. 42 of 50 upstate New York counties have seen a population loss. Traditional age students are on the decline. The demand for higher education is on the decline, particularly with the strong economy and particularly for associate degrees. And the areas that are seeing population growth, that growth doesn't necessarily correspond with the high school graduation rate. Nationally, we're in a decline as well in the number of traditional age college students, with projected further declines for the future after a slight bump in around 2024. There's also an anticipated decline in demand nationally for colleges like ours, which would be a four-year regional college. Anticipated declines in demand for everything but the four-year elite universities. So, against that bleak landscape, here are our numbers as of this week. 2017 and 18 are the third week, and Tara and her staff prepare this report. So you can see that in terms of total head count, we're down 74 students compared to the same time last year, or a week later last year. Our student mix has changed. You'll see that we're down quite a bit in associate degree students, and that's a trend that isn't unique to us. When the economy is robust and students who might normally seek an associate's degree can go out into the workforce and get a job right away, there's less demand for associate degrees, but our bachelor's degrees, as you can see, have increased. Our New York State students are down, but our out-of-state students have remained strong, which is quite an accomplishment, given that applications across the system for out-of-state students were down quite a bit.
And realize too, the county colleges are suffering pretty badly with 10% decline, and in other places even lower. So it's the associate level across the state.
And the unofficial word through the admissions community is that colleges that have strong online programs are holding their own, while colleges who do not are seeing enrollment declines. It's not universal, but many colleges are seeing that pattern. So what are we doing to try and stem the tide and reverse the trend? These are some of the things that are being done this year and into next. The Orange Blazers are an elite group of students who are being selected to represent the college at events, represent the president, speak on behalf of the college. They're amazing. Mobleskill, you've probably seen, is our Learning in Motion. It's a van that was funded through a grant from SUNY, and it's all tricked out with music and lights and screens, and Mobleskill goes to high schools and fairs and events. And there are mini lessons offered through Mobleskill where there's a video of a faculty member giving a 2-minute lesson. Then an admissions counselor leads people participating through an applied learning activity, and then there's another brief video that wraps that up. So it's a way to bring the Cobleskill message of applied learning and hands-on learning on the road. We're working on expanded strategies to recruit FFA students. Our admissions counselors are going to as many statewide FFA events as they can. Some of them are enormous. The National FFA Convention is the largest gathering of high school students in the country. Texas attracts 7,000 students. So we're working on further refining our FFA strategies. The K-9 program has been an instant success. Slate is a customer relations management system that's being built out in admissions, which will take the ability to communicate with prospective students to the next level. Influencer campaigns are campaigns not just to the prospective student, but to the parent, to school personnel, to others who may influence the student's decision about college. Individualized campus visits. We're doing some renovations in the admission suite, and part of that is to get rid of the waiting room, because nobody's going to wait. We're going to get people right out, seeing exactly what they want to see, rather than a canned tour. The Brand Ambassador Program is we're going to put materials, both digital and physical, in the hands of alumni and other people who love Cobleskill, who want to help us spread the word and promote the college.
I just want to explain the expanded FFA. Those are the students who consider themselves scientists and leaders. There's 460,000 of them. Why us? Because folks think, well, is it all about the agriculture side? It really isn't. These students go into communications, they go into business, they go into graphic design, but they're attracted to us because we're an agriculture school, so they can be on the equine team, or they can continue their hobby of that, and or obviously go into the agriculture programs. So I just wanted to be clear that this is not just about one side of the college. It's a perfect example of how the schools are blended together. They go into early childhood. So it is an important strategy that we are unique in that the FFA students would look at us because of that unique element.
Sorry. Okay, a few additional initiatives. This year, admissions tried to expand the territories they recruit in to several states, and for 2019, they're going to expand it further, trying to make inroads in those states. We now have the virtual tour on our website now uses virtual reality. And we're sending virtual reality cardboard headsets to students out of state so they can really see what the campus looks like. They can explore all the rooms that are on the virtual tour. And we also bring those headsets to high school visits, and we had them at the county fair and at the state fair. Our counselors push into high schools and help the students with their college decisions. Ag in New York website is another SUNY grant-funded initiative for schools that have agricultural programs in New York State. Us, Morrisville, Canton, Cornell are featured on this new website, which was developed at no cost to us. You've heard about the financial aid matrix and our efforts to more strategically use our scholarships to recruit. And we're working on analysis of that and our plan going forward. There's been an increased campus-wide focus on retention. And finally, SAUCY, which stands for Student Advocates United for Communication and Yield, is a group of very enthusiastic folks who have been getting together once a week for a year. And we've rethought all of the events that touch prospective students, from open house, accepted student day, orientation, and move in, to try to really coordinate that programming. And we have students on the group to try and make it what students want. And then that group also has been very active in trying to prevent melt during the summer of both prospective students and returning students. So we're seeing some headway there. Questions?
Excuse me, maybe somebody else is ahead of me. I know I've mentioned it before, maybe in just a visit with Marion, but the New England states is what I'm talking about. There are less and less farms. For example, in Maine, there's less than 100 dairy farms anymore. And those states, all those states, some of them are land-grant colleges, maintain agricultural programs. My question would really be, and wondering ahead a little bit, I guess, is that how much longer will those states fund an agricultural program? Because money and students, it's
Right.
obvious formula. Is there a way, or is any communication getting going about, okay, we'll take your Maine students, they're gonna have to pay the tuition. Our tuition is a whole lot different than Maine or a lot of those other New England states, so they're not paying what they're used to is double tuition, like if they just knocked on our door, they would, but.
Right.
My point is the tuition is about the same. They're not coming here for any savings, really, at that point. But yet, it could be an open door for a lot of people. A lot of young people want to be in agriculture due to all kinds of reasons. And I didn't know if there was a way to start establishing a link with the New England colleges that probably don't want to keep funding agriculture, but want to have a good access for their students to have an agricultural background.
There is an issue with that, in that New England wisely has done the same tuition for any state that belongs to the New England Consortium,
Okay?
because they're trying to keep their own. I don't know how the impact that is, so we should see what that tuition level is, because I thought they were very wise to do that. And then, because for an out-of-state student, it would be
It's $10,000 more.
10,000 more.
Yeah,
So we'd
right.
have to see, but we also are looking at more scholarships for the out-of-staters as well.
And I'm sure that's not an immediate answer either, by the way.
But we do recruit out of New England.
We do, and in
Oh,
fact,
of course you do.
we have a recruiter specifically in New England. And, you know, I've never worked with a more nimble group of people than our current admission staff, and kudos to Tara, who hired most of them. Green Mountain College closed. The morning it was announced, we had geo-fencing in place, which means they were all getting Cobleskill ads on their devices. We had rented the Putney Public Library for our admissions recruiters, and they were on the road to try and recruit those students, and they got several of them. So we have people who are really watching to see what's happening in other places and pouncing. It's a little ghoulish, but all's fair.
But Phil, is there an association in New England that our recruiter could reach out to that's related to
Well,
farming or dairy?
I think each state has a fairly active FFA.
Okay, so we're tapping that,
Yes.
right?
We're very, in New York is stronger, of course, but there's pretty active FFAs throughout New England,
Okay, so,
being one, and, but each state is probably autonomous the way they operate. And,
right, okay.
But I just look at that as there's a lot of people there, and believe me, there's a lot that like agriculture. Probably not raising fish or milking cows, but all the other avenues of agriculture.
Well, I'll say, what we've also done, Phil, is had approval for a reciprocal agreement to offer our online courses out of state, and then ultimately online programs out of state. We've submitted a substantive change so that we can offer online programs. We've submitted that to Middle States. And then we've put forward an announcement for a farm and food certificate, which is online. So we've taken some of those steps too.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a big market, big field, I think.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Very good.
Appreciate that,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We're gonna hold off on the budget piece, because since Bonnie's gonna also show you what we've done on capital, so she's just gonna keep going right now, so that you can see the updates.
Okay, this will be way more fun.
That was good, that was fun.
Okay, capital plan. The big project this summer was Curtis Mott. For those of you who know the building, there's 2 hallways with classrooms on one side and labs on the other. And I personally never thought about the middle. But it was mostly old locker rooms and things that were no longer used. So that whole thing was gutted and turned into new faculty offices and a computer classroom. It looks absolutely fantastic and has transformed the building. It doesn't look like 1962 when you walk in there anymore. Probably nobody else appreciates a beautiful new bathroom like I do, but those are the new bathrooms in Curtis Mott. Prentice, which was closed for a year for renovations, has now reopened. Those renovations are not dramatic because they were largely mechanical. There's Joe looking at his new mechanicals very, very happily, but this very badly needed to be done. There are new windows and a few cosmetic improvements, and with Champlin now closed, Prentice is hopping.
Yeah.
And Champlin will be closed for this year for similar type upgrades. It's very rough on CAS, but they're troopers, and we'll get through it. One of the casualties of Champlin being closed is that we had to put in temporary trailers for kitchens for culinary. They're actually very nice inside with brand new Vulcan ranges, and faculty are making the best of that.
They're going to turn one of them into a food truck, and the space is a little tight. So when we met with the faculty, we said, but will students always run into a perfect culinary kitchen? And the answer is no. So they're all literally taking it in stride, but it's been an interesting transition for them.
Yeah. The Equine Cottage was probably the saddest building on campus. It smelled like mildew and looked like awful. That's now gotten a facelift inside and out and looks like a modern building, a modern collegiate building. We also put in a solar array at the Equine Cottage, and there's 2 more new solar arrays in process. Huge project this summer for upgrades to internet in the residence halls. We were on the cusp of hiring a vendor to do this at enormous expense, and Facilities and ITS came up with a plan to do it internally at a much lower cost. So I'm very pleased about that. We've continued to renovate lounges and kitchens in the residence hall. Dick's Hall was up this year. Beautiful new lounges. Cheyenne, you mentioned gender inclusive bathrooms.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
Yeah, every year we've been removing the gang bathrooms from the residence halls and putting in individual bathrooms that have a sink, toilet and shower.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
The bathrooms are really nice and meeting. I'm chocolate.
Paving on Albany Avenue, if you came in that way, you would have noticed, long time coming. But it certainly gives a better impression of our campus when the roads are paved and smooth. People ask, why do we do all this when the budget is so tight? Just a reminder that this is critical maintenance money that is funded separately by the legislature. The residence halls fund their own projects. And we use the capital as much as possible to supplant operating costs, but we can only do that on a limited basis. In the last slide, I indicated we got 1.9 million in capital funding this year, but for the last 2 years or so, most of the capital money has been allocated in a lump sum, and campuses are eligible to apply for grants. We've done very well. Our running total's over 26 million. We seem to be poised for a grant for Mackey, the facilities building, which is out to bid right now, and BAUC, which I'll talk about in a minute. We're hoping that will be funded also through a grant. A couple of things that are underway. Porter, the empty dormitory that's closed, has been reopened partially, and the canine program is using that to set up rooms for detection. So they will have a chemistry lab and a hotel room and an office, various types of rooms where they can hide things for the dogs to find. And we had trouble getting the funding approved, so it's a little bit late, but within the next few weeks, we should have 2 new training spaces up at the hangar for canine. And that's my dog, who's the faculty got for me, and she's part of the canine program.
We already have 100 students in the program since the announcement came out.
Yeah, Sue's dog's in the program too.
Human, not a dog.
Yeah. Oh, Barb, you blew it.
So provided that the bids come in satisfactorily and we get the grant, Mackey Service Complex is up next. In BAUC, we're trying to turn that into a modern student union, and the best way we can do that is right in this fiscal climate is to chip away. So next up is the corridor where Twisted Whiskers is. Twisted Whiskers is the sub shop, and it's Kaz's wish to have the sub shop and the bookstore adjoining, because that'll save them money on staffing and operations. So that whole corridor is going to be redone, and that'll vacate the current bookstore space. So we'll have some movement there. Hopefully in 2021, we'll be starting that project. So poor Kaz will never have all their food venues
Up and running together.
Up and running at once. Warner 120, which is a small lecture hall, desperately needs a facelift. I mentioned the 2 solar arrays at Johnson and Niskern. Knapp Hall is getting a new chiller, and the lounges and bathrooms, Fake and Ten Eyck are up next, as well as Roman.
There's your Roman.
Hey.
Yeah,
That's okay.
so next year.
Yeah, that's fine. I won't be here.
Oh, well, you can go back and see the bathrooms.
Yeah.
So thank you for your support.
Thank you, Bonnie. Questions? They've been busy.
I think the campus looks very nice.
Thank you, Phil.
It does. And what a difference the first year in many years, we're not doing any digging.
Tara,
And that makes quite a difference.
Tara,
Can you get the lights?
Usually they're digging up something.
That's true.
And it's looks very nice.
There's some digging going on.
Yeah, there's a little, yeah.
It's on. I have it.
can we just shut
Is
it
that
off?
bothering you? Is that bothering your eyes, Barb?
This is what I do for a living now, right here. This is how we interact. A light would never work with me for torture.
So the budget, Wendy's prepared to talk about the budget and where we are with SUNY and the memo that, several memos have gone to the campus. The information Wendy's going to share now is going to be the next memo that will go out to the campus, but we're sharing it with you first.
So good morning, everyone, and I'm sorry, I'm standing behind
It's
you.
okay.
No, I'm good,
No.
no, I'm good, this is fine. So you all know that, we've had some challenging budget times, and, we continue to struggle a little bit in, enrollment's down a little bit. We have used up a lot of cash, so we're at that point where we have to be making some substantial changes. And not that we haven't been doing things in the past. SUNY reached out to us early this summer and said, hey, what's going on? And so we've started some communications with them, as well as communicating more broadly with the campus. And if you're on the campus email distribution, you've seen some of the memos we've sent out over the summer. What the message we're trying to get out to people, and we called one of our sessions from austerity to prosperity. We know we have to do things, but we also have to invest in the college. We're not just shutting down and not doing anything. So the capital is a good example. We have to keep investing that way, even though it's a different pool of money. But also, we're going to need to continue to hire faculty, invest in new programs, and continue to move the college forward. So the last memo that I sent, that we sent to SUNY is what we call the budget narratives. What are we doing for this upcoming year? And one of the things we really wanted to focus on is not the cut our way out of this mentality. We certainly have to reduce our spending, but we also have to generate new revenue. And a lot of the things we've been doing, you've already heard us mention in various meetings over the past couple of years. Dr. Zimmerman just mentioned the online programs. That's going to be a huge thing to move forward. I think we may have mentioned here a partnership with a group called Living Resources. They're out of Albany. They work with students with learning differences. Many of them are students we already have, so we're doing a partnership with them and hope to get 40 new students over the next couple of years. They'll get additional support, both academic and living in the dorms. A great way to move forward there. Our partnership with Citizen Science, the hemp that we're growing across the street, and that we will sell back to them. So that was a two-part project. They've given us some money for research. We hired some students. The hemp is growing, and then when we harvest it, we will sell it to them. We've talked about the new dairy processing center. We had $1 million grant, and we finally got the money back from
really.
them, so that was a good thing.
After spending the money.
Yeah, it was an expensive grant, but on the other hand, we didn't have $1 million to do that project. So even if we had to spend, probably $150,000 all told of our own money to do it, well, that's a pretty good return on investment. We've done some new fees, which we've talked about. We continue to expand college and the high school. Summer session, we did really well this year. We generated a new $120,000 in revenue that we hadn't done before.
The college and the high school, because a council member had asked, we had 1,008 enrolled in last spring. It doesn't, we're still doing registrations now, and they don't close till October 1st. So at this point, we have 202, but we've been averaging 1,000.
Can I just
Please.
clarify that?
Yeah.
It's 1,008 for last year.
Year.
And also 202 that were free for last year.
Oh, I
So
misunderstood. Okay.
students with free and reduced lunch, that was my shorthand, that I thought Marion would just No. How could you not know what I meant?
Oh, that's even
So
better.
that's 1,200.
12,
Yes,
oh,
it's right.
cool.
Total
So,
students served,
200
enrollments served. yeah.
who are on free or
Free or
reduced.
reduced lunch.
This is a big deal because
Yes.
this is really telling them that you can attain college. So it's 1,200.
Yes, total.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, good. But I was right that registration goes to October
Registration is
1st.
October 1st. We have new schools as partners this year, so the enrollment continues to grow. Sorry.
No, no problem. Thanks. I'm glad I got the numbers.
We do continue to do work on the expenditure side. The dorm program, we are moving some legitimate expenses to the dorm program. This fall, the provost, the deans, and the chairs look very closely at the course offerings, reduced sections, and we saved about $47,000 just this fall because of their efforts. And I appreciate all the work and Barb that the faculty did to make sure that we're offering the right courses to the students, but we're not offering extraneous courses. It's a balancing act.
But I'm just gonna, I don't wanna be too Pollyanna about this. That does create some conflicts for students because courses were closed. They could not take the courses they wanted to. And ultimately, as we continue to shrink that, there's no leeway for students who need to fulfill other masters besides their degree program like these.
Right, but along with that, because none of this operates in a vacuum, nor can it. There's a curriculum mapping going on right now and an academic, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the academic plan we're developing, and then also the implementation of CourseDog, which is our course scheduling software. So I think all of those things will help in that effort. So we're offering things.
Yeah, so.
Definitely a balancing act.
Yeah.
And then just a few other quick things. We've reduced utilities thanks to the fine work of the facilities and Bonnie Martin by over $1 million over the last 4 years. Wow. So that has been a huge benefit to the college budget. And every year they chip away a little bit more. I mean, we will reach a point where we're not going to be able to cut anymore, but that's been a huge and much appreciation to all the work Don and Joe and the whole team do over there. And then a couple other things we're doing very quickly. We do have a position freeze. You know, there are 4 lines we're not filling this year. We have a 90-day freeze on vacant positions. We're using some extra revenue that we didn't necessarily use before to support the budget. And then we've asked system administration very pointedly for some additional help, including a loan if we don't meet our expenses by the end of the year. So I think we will probably be able to, but we put it out there that, and the community is aware that we may have to ask for a loan. I think that's where I want to stop because there's a lot more, but.
A couple other things I'll add to that for us though, but we are finding out that many SUNY schools are experiencing a decrease in their reserves. That's what's going on. We got there a little sooner than others, but when I hear other presidents talking, some have had to cut $2 million out of their budget for the last 4 years in a row. Others are doing the same thing. Morrisville, by the way, the president and I have been talking. We tease about Morrisville, but we are looking together and looking at our budgets together to see, for example, are they ready to jettison their dairy program, and should those students come here? And so that partnership is starting to come forward, which I think is important. Amazon, we have a phone call with them next week. They're very interested in doing something with us online. We actually are talking to SUNY and Assembly Weapons Office on bringing 1 or 2 programs into the prison system because we think that we can, our programs are unique, particularly in Ag Eng, where there are 1,700 jobs, immediate jobs, at least, right, Sue?
Yeah. So
we're looking into that. So you can see that we're building other kinds of student cohorts that will, and the online will be critical. Thanks to the faculty and Barb's leadership, we're moving forward with online in a way that fits us. It's not the omnibus approach, nor can it be. So the faculty are looking where we can do it appropriately. That's the certificate in Ag Eng. We are going to try to meet with AIS, which is the 5th largest cybersecurity company in the country, to see if we can do a partnership with them. What's happening too with the 18-year-olds, they say it's growing. First of all, the new majority of students are the who are in the minority underserved category. So the new majority are the kinds of students we've been serving all along. But the other piece of the Gen Z we're learning is they're debt adverse, and the more you hear about it, we're all debt adverse, of course. But what they're doing is it's called Go Pro Early, and companies are grabbing these students out of high school and say, come work with us, we'll train you. So at Cobleskill, when we mention it, this is how our faculty and staff react. We say, look, why don't we go to an AIS? Let us offer the beginning courses. Keep the students on, as employees, but then come back and get the full-blown degree. It's not we're saying, here's a certificate, no other kind of education behind that. We're saying, let us do it, because if we don't, we'll never get the student, right? They'll just disappear and not understand the importance of college. We'd like to say, come, get some of the skills, but keep going because the degree matters. And there's a fabulous online, and Tara, thank you for finding it, NPR report when I was driving in the other day. It's one of the best reports I've heard about student debt. And why I loved it is because they talked about it, but they talked about the power of the degree, that it's still important for the future, for creative thinking, critical thinking, what it means to be an educated citizen. So we want to try, we think we can do both, that we start working with these students who we may lose anyway, get them involved with AIS who needs employees from everywhere, they can't find them, and then work and say, continue your education. That's yet another balancing act. That's going to take time. Same with the online. It's not going to be for everybody. And how do we do that? But we had a successful animal science online course for high schoolers.
College and high school. Yeah.
And it was for now, because we have, thanks to Sue's diligence in her office to get this, we can offer that course anywhere in the country. Anywhere in the country. So we now are opening, you talk about FFA, go to the FFA and say, hey, you can take this animal science course. So we're building. I said to the community, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. The other thing we did, thanks to this entire cabinet, was we did the whole professional development series in August, was all around the initiatives. That's why Wendy has a heck of a lot more to talk about. Initiatives and what do we do next? How do we turn the corner? And everything I just said, we have had a whole bunch of sessions led by the provost and every cabinet member. And we've ended the session with a blue ocean strategy. And it was really freeing to say, okay, where can we go? Because the red ocean is where all the competition is. And it's red because people are fighting and drawing blood. Is there a way to look at things that others aren't doing that still fit who we are? So for example, the animal science course online is an example of a blue ocean strategy. Looking at maybe the prison population is an example of a blue ocean strategy. Why are we, or working with Morrisville? Why are we competing in dairy with everybody else? What can you do that's different, but that also enhances the good work of the programming here? So I wanted to add a bunch of that too. Any questions or comments?
Marian?
Yes.
I think I read recently that the BOCES is going to be offering some sort of programming in the technology that might coordinate with our colleges working with AIS. Is this something that is it's already on your screen?
Yes, they just announced, and that's why we're getting up there. It's not just BOCES. I think if it's the one you're talking about, it's the Air Force. I think it's a $12 million grant that the Air Force labs up by Griffiths in that area, and AIS is right across the street, are working with BOCES to start looking at how do we bring more into the fold. That's it.
Capital Region BOCES, I think, and I almost think there was something going to be happening over at the Schoharie campus, but that would be a natural feed-in for the high school students to be attracted here and to AIS.
And we work very closely with BOCES.
Okay,
So
good.
they actually participate in the superintendent's council that we have Barry Gell at every month of their meetings. So yeah, they've been great partners.
And the other partnership that we are starting to work on is with U of Albany. They actually hosted us for a full day, which was a remarkable meeting. And they are choosing their partners. They're not opening their doors to just any SUNY school. We are one of their top partners. And we met with 5 groups for different kinds of programming, including a 2+2+1 in cybersecurity. I mean, it went on and on and on. They also have an ROTC program. They would like to see if they could extend it to us through their cadet corps. Guaranteed admissions, they start with us, they end with them. It's more than just an articulation agreement. Transfer admission guarantee. It went on. It was an amazing conversation, and working with their public affairs master's degree, the 2-year. So there's a lot there. And again, they're not doing this with all SUNY schools. And they think a proximity of 39 miles matters, but we have programs that they don't have. So the K-9 program could go under the umbrella of Homeland Security, because they don't have that. And they gave us a tour of their $180 million facility that's going up. Good God. They showed us their drone labs. And they were saying, what do you want? They literally opened the doors and said, what do you want? Where can we partner? So we're moving in that area very judiciously and with excitement. So folks were saying, will U of Albany take us over? No. Will we be a satellite for some of their programs? Yes, particularly those that we do well. They're not taking over. We are complementing each other with the kinds of things we can do together. So we are busy, as you can see.
Mary, I just want to
Please.
add that it's an interesting connection that one of our K-9 faculty just completed his master's through the emergency preparedness, through the Homeland Security
Right.
School. Kevin Holohan did.
He did.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
It's an interesting, I think he can bring a lot
Right.
through his educational experience to that program.
And our K-9 program, kudos to them. They have signed MOUs with animal shelters to train the dogs so they're more adoptable. So I think that's really, really cool that we're doing that to help our K-9 friends. Okay, any questions or anything else about the budget or initiatives? Wendy is doing an outstanding job with FAST and the work group you're going to be putting together. So we're all full cylinders as we try to get ourselves through this. Okay.
Thank you.
A couple other, the external recognitions. Thank you, Olive, for acknowledging the co-chairship role I am now taking on with the REDC. I've been meeting with SEEK, which is the Schoharie Economic Enterprise Corporation. They just announced their executive director, Julie Paquette. Julie and I will be talking on a regular basis of what will be next, the next steps with SEEK. And I was pleased because Tom Putnam said that SEEK came out of the work that the college did with them. You know, those breakfasts we had, I continued them. He acknowledged that the college had a major role in helping to launch SEEK. So I was very pleased and proud of that. The ESG project is moving. We met with them yesterday. They're really getting the licenses in order, breaking ground. We're hoping in the next few months, but that is completely on track and moving forward. And we are helping them meet SEEK and others. On Friday, I'll be at Cornell with Sue and Tim for the USDA Summit for the Northeast Rural Region and what we need to do in higher ed, and with USDA and Cornell. SUNY will be there. The National Governors Association, at my invitation, will be there. This is a big deal. And SUNY Cobleskill with Cornell are the lead institutions with the USDA on next steps for rural revitalization. Sharon Springs is having their major festival of 10,000 people SUNY Cobleskill will be there alongside with SUNY, Got Your Back, and Mobileskill will be up there, and we just found out that QVC will be there live with 1 million viewers. So SUNY Cobleskill will be featured at the festival. I can go on, but I'll stop there. The annual report we'll be sending to you. It went to SUNY. We'd like to share that with you. I'll stop.
Any questions on any of that? I think we're all sort of mind boggled at this moment.
Yeah. We had a very busy summer, to put it mildly.
Could you just mention
Very
the
good.
middle states?
Oh, Sue, please.
I just want to say that we have our Middle States Committee up and running, our steering committee, and I would like to invite Eric and Linda to be part of that. Our first meeting is going to be September 26th from 12:30 to 2 in Curtis Mott Lounge, and we'll send out a reminder, but it's the 26th from 12:30 to 2 in Curtis Mott. Catherine Brent and Kathy Johnson will be co-chairing that committee. So we're getting started.
Yeah, thank you. Very important work they're doing, for sure.
Some of you may remember the last Middle States.
It never ends.
It never ends.
It's like running for
But-
president, getting ready or getting over.
But we have a little more to work with this time.
Yeah.
It was a little shaky last time. Okay. How about the athletic conference update?
So good news, effective fall 2020, we will be members of the NAC, the North Atlantic Conference. This conference is far more student athlete friendly with their scheduling. We will see travel savings as a result, which is fantastic. We, along with Cazenovia and SUNY Poly, are joining in the fall of 2020. And we've been really pleased with the leadership there, the Commissioner Marcella, who is very open to listening to presidents and our athletic director. It's also a conference that's much more athletic director focused and really wants to make sure that we succeed with our student athletes. So we are very delighted about that.
Okay. Thank you. Barb, it's your turn.
Welcome back, everybody. We are in week 3 of the college semester, which you haven't heard me say it before. The first 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks are always the busiest time. So I have to say that my colleagues are very busy. We have enormously successful and full classes. Our students are enthusiastic and always so polite. I don't know what people think that the Gen Z generation are punks. They're really not. They're so polite. We have many initiatives or accomplishments that have come over from last semester. So I've mentioned to you before that we had asked, in conjunction with the Provost's office, to offer dual majors and dual degrees for our students. This fall is the commencement of that, so students can now apply for dual degrees and graduate with those in the same semester. Prior, you could do that, but you had to do one and then do the other. Now you can do them at the same time within the limitations of certain regulations. As mentioned earlier, the curriculum committee passed its first online certificate. It's Farm to Food Entrepreneurship. This 4-credit certificate program is unique to SUNY, unique really to the Northeast. There is no such thing. And it took, because it's new, it took a lot of contemplation as to how to make sure that what we do in a class that's online, at more than 49%, that's the line that SUNY kind of puts in the sand for us, has the checks and balances necessary to make an offering robust for our students, especially with an applied learning mandate. Really what it came down to is a simple table of how much interaction from lecture, how much interaction through discussion groups, how much study or alone time a student would need to have in order to complete any assignment or project. And then that all gets totaled up to some magic number for a 3-credit course that has to be more than 145 hours. So if you think you're busy, Cheyenne, you are, because for every course, no matter bricks and mortar or online, it's supposed to be 145 hours worth of work. So we've used that as our measure of online effectiveness, and that has worked out well. I do believe, as Sue mentioned, that she had then sent our a request for a mission revision with the farm to food entrepreneurship, so that we'll be better able to offer more completely online programs. One of the things about the farm to food entrepreneurship, just in case you're like, geez, 100% online, a student could take face-to-face completely. They could take it a couple courses online and the majority face-to-face, or they can take it all online. This really gives the opportunity to students to have a pathway that they choose and to match their learning style with the offerings that the college has. I wanted to let you know that we talked about this baby boom with the faculty, because we had a long period of no hiring and then a period of frenzied hiring. We have 9 faculty up for renewal in the fall and 10 faculty up for renewal in the spring. In the spring, 4 of those are tenured, so up for tenure, so continuing appointment. So we're kind of getting through our baby boom. We have, I think the number was more like 18 last year, so we're kind of shrinking in the numbers that are coming up for continuing appointment and renewal. Of our 100-ish full-time academic faculty, 6 of them have been selected to serve on statewide University Faculty Senate governance committees. That's an accomplishment that no other SUNY, regardless of size, can say. One of the things I have to pat myself on the back, and also our faculty senator, Chuck Moran, for really making it known that impact at the state level really does trickle down here. So for example, the statewide undergraduate committee was the place that Gen Ed was born, general education. A lot of the transfer initiatives and the pathways that have been created have also come out of SUNY University Faculty Senate governance committees. Surprisingly, about 4 of those 6 are relatively new faculty who do not have continuing appointment yet and have engaged in governance here, but it is their first step for governance outside of this institution, so I applaud them. One thing we haven't talked about is that Marianne, Scott, and I have been working with Abby Perkins, who is the chair of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Action Group. We are in the ends of the process of reconfiguring that group to not just capture faculty and staff, but also include groups and membership and constituencies from other employees of the college, student groups, CAS, all of the different pieces here on this campus, because diversity and equity and inclusion should be diverse, and that includes more than faculty and staff. That has started some very interesting discussions that have not yet borne fruit about what does it mean when we have a presiding officer of the faculty, but there are pieces of the campus that have limited representation in the governance structure. And we'll probably hear more of that about that as time goes on. One more thing, I think I'm probably stealing somebody's thunder, is that Marion, with Cass's help, has announced 2 endowed professorships. Those will be brought online for next year, but the planning is now. And Marion has tasked campus governance to come up with what it should look like and how it should be configured. And we have already started that discussion. Our Fiscal Affairs and Strategic Planning Committee, in conjunction with our Academic Personnel Policies Committee, that's an alphabet soup, FASP and APPC, are working together. They're working separately to kind of look at what they think an endowed professorship should entail. Then they are coming together to really hash it out and present one model to Cabinet.
I can't think of a better person to have announced it, so thank you. And to add to that, we're the first in SUNY of all 64 campuses to announce it, and we put 2. So the chancellor actually sent me an email last week and said, okay, she said there may be a prize with this, so, you know, she's
We're
very
hoping-
excited.
We're hoping for a prize.
Because no one else has even
Any money.
stepped up yet. Right? And this is a chancellor's initiative, so, thank you, Barb, and I'm so pleased to hear the two committees, that makes the most sense.
Let's see here. One of the other issues that came out of the idea of representative governance is that we have a body of the whole. We don't have a senate. Every faculty member. Wait,
I'm sorry, I thought.
we're gonna need a sergeant at arms. It's in there somewhere. Oh, she got it.
She got it.
And now back to our program.
One of the things we've also heard is that faculty would like the ability to electronically vote. And as much as I love my faculty, what they'd like to do is electronically vote anonymously. Therefore, we cannot certify the tally, which doesn't make any sense. And if you have a vote, you have to certify that your vote is valid, right? So we've been dealing with this electronic voting for the full 3+ years that I have been presiding officer, and I'm pretty sure it won't be done by the time I'm out of here, so if it is somebody else's problem. But what I have found is that it comes out of a good place. They want to be able to participate in governance, they want to be able to ask questions, and then not have it thrown back in their face that they asked a thorny question, which I get. So what I have found is that Doodle, have you heard of Doodle polling, has an anonymous Doodle called a Doodle. And yes, and what an a Doodle poll will allow us to do is to hold straw polls, so ones that don't count, but yet get the feedback back from faculty about what items they think are most critical. And so my first a Doodle poll, our first a Doodle poll, will go out in about a month before the next faculty meeting. And I've asked each of the committee chairs from the executive committee to come up with 3 or 4 items that from their committee that they think perhaps might be a hot button topic that the great diaspora wants to work on or doesn't think is an issue, or that they hear the water cooler is an issue. Bring it to the Doodle poll, and then everyone would have some number of votes, 7, 10, depending on the size, and then which are the top priorities for you. And then maybe have a little box at the bottom to let them go to town like this. And then we'll see what comes out of it.
Great
You ask
idea.
a question, you don't know what you're gonna get, but it
great
won't
idea.
count for anything, except it will be anonymous. You will need a Cobleskill email in order to participate, but it will be anonymous, so.
Good for you, Barb.
It's
And the punishments for having said the wrong thing in this college ever? I mean, you know, Barbara.
Well, those
I
days
am
are.
just a messenger.
I understand, but
I am
It's
telling
not-
you where the concerns of certain faculty, and I would say it's a great minority. We've had, I don't know how many straw polls in the faculty meetings about how do you want to vote, folks? And it always comes back to in the body, meaning in the faculty meeting, by either this if it's not controversial, or if it's controversial, this, and then hand in the paper. And so we're still on paper ballot secret voting. That is the law of the land, and that is what has been reaffirmed. There's a very vocal minority that continues to come up with wanting the ability to have
It
it
happens at
anonymous.
every campus.
I understand it. It's, you know,
It's every
how they were
campus,
raised,
yeah.
like I say. That was a joke. All right, just want you to know, it was a joke. Some initiatives that we're working on this semester, and again, we're 3 weeks in, so it's still kind of new. We have started talking about revisiting the residency requirement. Students are required to take a number of credits, minimum number of credits here at SUNY Cobleskill in order to graduate. For the associate's degree, it's rather burdensome, and for the bachelor's degree, it's less so, but it still does create conflict, especially if we have partner organizations like UAlbany or some of our foreign institutions where when they're taking a SUNY Cobleskill course elsewhere, it doesn't necessarily show up like a SUNY Cobleskill course. So all said and done, we're revisiting that residency requirement. We're looking at what other institutions do, and we haven't made any decisions. We're not even close to getting to that point yet. And then another one is to revisit the course challenge policy. That is kind of an antiquated and not really well-used policy here on this campus. If you look at a catalog and there's a C next to a course's name, it means it's eligible for challenge. The challenge must be done Currently, in the very first week, the student must be signed up for the course, and the course must be offered that semester in order to do a challenge. So if we have an obscure course that's very technical, that we don't offer very often, it's difficult for students to challenge the course. And the other thing is that you end up with a pass or a fail when you take that challenge. You don't end up with a grade, and that can be problematic for many different reasons, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we're going to revisit that. This is really our first toe into competency-based learning. We've had this toe in the water before with competency-based learning, but the idea that a course challenge would be there, would be a faculty-driven initiative, and that the challenge material varies from course to course, and is approved by the faculty. And then one last item, unless you have any questions, is that Marion has already gotten her sea legs under her by taking a trip with the fisheries students out to Otsego Lake on the electrofishing boat. And knowing that she did that, I have challenged her for many years to join me on the research vessel for Riverkeeper. Riverkeeper is what I'm working with. I do their water quality work on the Mohawk River with our students and Dr. Neil Law. And next Monday, Marion has pledged to go on the boat. So she's gonna be sampling pool water. She'll be watching me sample pool water. I just saw her head go, no.
We'll be chronicling it together.
But she is going to be on, with Captain John Lipscomb, who, the award-winning captain of the research vessel, the R.E.M. Fletcher, working with Riverkeeper and SUNY Cobleskill. Riverkeeper is very happy to be working with us as a partner. They also partner with SUNY Poly. We have so many colleges that are now trying to join our research group. University at Albany is one, RPI is another, Union College is another. So we'll see, but we're going to get Marion there. They also have a river dog, so just warning you, don't wear black, because he is a yellow lab. His name is Batu, and he lives on the boat with Captain John. And he is an ambassador, as you can imagine, for the research that they do.
Thanks, Barb. Also, the Ducks Unlimited now want to take me duck calling. I mean, it's becoming another job. But I do want to add the good work of the faculty and the collaboration of the faculty with the provost's office is stellar. And to watch the partnership when Barb and Sue, and then with the deans and our new interim dean get together to talk about very hard issues, they can bring them forward and we can figure this out together. That they're looking at the residency requirement and the course challenges is showing that they understand, and it's their job with the provost to keep the quality there and the robustness of the programs, but what else can we do for students? So I applaud our provost and our presiding officer for that good work. Thank you.
And not to get the last word on that, but when I took this job, this one that puts me here today, I said, we really need to remove barriers to student excellence. And that's what I've done every year.
Yes, you
taken
have.
at least one or two things that I know are barriers that get in the way of student excellence, and work on them with the body of the whole.
Yeah.
And I have not really found any opposition. Our faculty want the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just hard work.
It's hard work.
Yes.
Sounds like we ought to provide another milking course lesson.
Ah.
Remember the one you took?
Oh, come on now. I've done that. I've already done that.
Good.
It's on tape.
Thank you, Barb, for all
Thank you,
you
Barb.
do and for the hard work you do for the college.
You had fun doing that.
Okay, foundation update. Wendy, you have?
Just very quickly, John Rust has agreed to serve as the foundation president. And he and John Herrick and I met about 2 weeks ago now. How are we moving forward with the foundation? And that's really all I'll say right now. It's an interesting time, but very excited.
Okay.
Well, John.
Very good. Okay, alumni update. John, you are going to give us a little homecoming week activity update, perhaps?
Yes, I'll keep it brief because I know Eric and Susan have some things to report on the Greater Advancement update, but let's just say all hands on deck for homecoming and family weekend. This year is going to be bigger and hopefully better than ever. We start Friday night with the culinary extravaganza this year. It was felt that having that event during homecoming weekend provided an opportunity for alumni out of the area to come in and see probably our flagship event throughout the year and be able to take part in that, so that we weren't asking them to come back just a few weeks apart. And it's going to kick the weekend off in really the right way. The next day we've got a new addition as well, which is, if everybody can see this, this was just debuted yesterday. So for folks around the table that are members of One Kobe, which is our in-family society, where you get a different pin every year if you support the annual fund at the level of $250 and above, and there's different fine metals that are. So this is pure 24 karat. I'll be taking that down to the pawn shop. But if you wear one of these, or you are a donor out in the community that is part of the President's Second Century Circle Society, and yes, say that 6 times fast, you will have access to this tent throughout the day. And it's just a nice way for us to acknowledge our donors, our annual donors, who year in and year out support this institution, support our students. It's a nice opportunity for the president to be able to say, hey, come on over and have a nice refreshment. And then we'll open it up during the evening for the president to host her donor reception, which every year she would hold at the College House. And this year we're holding it during homecoming weekend, because we really feel that's an opportunity for her to acknowledge more people that support us throughout the year, that are coming back into the area to take part in all the festivities. So it's really a special new addition to homecoming and family weekend. We're also going to have our Golden Grads acknowledged throughout the weekend, some special events. We've got Bruce Wright, who has retired, and he will be acknowledged on campus with a small gathering. And so a lot of new, interesting twists this year, as well as the old standbys that everybody loves, like the parade and the bonfire and the
Fireworks.
And the fire, of course, the fireworks. So yes, excitement. And if you've got any questions, by all means, contact our office. But we hope that this year is bigger, better than it's ever been before. That concludes my report for now, and then I speak through Eric and Susan.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry, Olive. I do want to share one important thing.
Okay.
And that is, in all the years I've been doing this, and I hate to say it, Shane, I've only been doing this a year or so, because I'm still 22 in my mind. But in all the years I've been doing this, I've never gone to a meeting with a donor and talked to him a little bit about what was coming up, our coming up campaign, obviously acknowledging him and thanking him for all he's done in the past. And he pulls out of his wallet, never has this happened before, that I've raised $1 million instantly by having a meeting like that. So I'm going to pass this around, but this is, and he set the tone for the rest of the council to follow. So I only expect that the council will at least do what he's done, if not more. But Mr. Phil King has given us the first $1 million. And there it is. Proudly displayed in my office forevermore. So thank you. There's a first for everything.
That's fun. Don't try to spend it.
Then I'll truly be wearing Kobe orange head to toe forevermore.
Okay.
Well done.
The chair's report, I don't have much to report, but I want to go on public record as thanking the council. What a lot of you may not realize is that although we're appointed for 7 years, doesn't necessarily mean that we only serve 7 years. At this point, we have 3 members that have current terms. Everyone else's term has expired.
Wow.
From 2015 on up. So But in a lot of colleges, the chair, as the term ends, they disappear. And so you hear of these colleges with only 2 or 3 members and not enough for quorum. This group has always stayed until they're replaced. And so, as you said, we have 3 members out of 9 that have current terms. So I think you all should give yourself a round of applause. Okay, attendance at ACT. Just curious to know how many are going. Eric, anyone else?
I'm gonna try to go Saturday.
Okay, if you can get down there Saturday, it's just in Cooperstown at the Otesaga. And even if you could go Saturday, the agenda looks really interesting. And I think it would particularly a lot of opportunity to ask questions on how other councils are running their show, to speak. So I think if you can't, I know Tracy can't go, she's already told me that when they first came out. But if you can go, like I said, even for Saturday, and you could go, you don't have to stay for dinner, you could just go during the day. It starts with breakfast at 8:30. You could skip breakfast, in fact, and just go for the meeting, just to hear what's going on and have an opportunity to talk with other council members. Okay? Selection of recipients for ACT Scholarship Awards. We have one of our members, Eric, that was privileged to be on that selection committee this year. And so he found it quite interesting. I've been on it several times. Our particular candidate did not win this year, but if you remember, we won 2 years in a row. So I thought that was quite an achievement. So Eric, why don't you sort of walk us through what happens?
I'm not at liberty to divulge anything. I think there's a wonderful scholarship luncheon on Saturdays, so if you can go to that, it's good. A lot of reading. There are 3, actually 4 awards. There were a varied number of candidates for each. Our candidate from the school didn't win, but actually scored pretty well. And just some remarkable students out in the SUNY system with just great stories. We were a committee of 5 or 6, and we had to reach consensus. And we did it, I think in most of the categories, we agreed on the top 2 out of 3, and then we're able to narrow it down. One of the awards was the Chancellor's Award for students following a teaching degree. And there was one candidate we all really liked, and it turned out that's the one the Chancellor wanted too. So we should get some extra stars. But you know, when these bios get published, take a minute to read them. There are really some amazing students out there doing great things, way beyond the base course for college.
And that's the Nancy Zimpher award, and that was $1,500. This was the first year that it was awarded. And it's because she was pushed education so strongly. So I thought it was a great opportunity. Our students are available, but I still think it was a really neat thing for the ACT to do. Okay. I've listed some of the committees have changed names slightly, so they were all listed again. And we also, if you remember, Marion asked that appoint someone to the Middle States Review Steering Committee. So we did that, and I hope that I didn't get a chance to talk to you, Linda, but I hope you don't mind.
I love it, thank you.
I thought you would. No, it's quite a detailed assignment, but I think you learn a lot about the college, and I would hope that we can certainly pass this along. The last time I was on it with Ann Hendricks, she's no longer on the council, but we found it very interesting. We worked with one faculty member as the chair and did our report. And you do learn a lot about the college, so that's a great way to start. Council member reports, anyone? I know Susan and Eric have been meeting with John, and there was an advancement committee report again. I listed Eric, I didn't know who was up for doing it.
I defer if you
Don't find
You're prepared.
That thanks to John.
It'll be stereo, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
John and I had a talk, he covered the points that are in his written report, and he took a look back, 2018 through 19, and a lot of things accomplished. Getting the development office staff settled was very big. Implementing some new database platforms, including Razor's Edge, which the hospital and the Bassett system use. It's like the top fund development management system. Great results. 2018 and 19, the development team received more than 2.6 million in gifts and pledges. And events brought in nearly 90,000 of that revenue. The annual fund brought in 170,000. So these are worthwhile in addition to one-on-one plan giving and major gifts, things like that. We mentioned the 2 endowed professorships. It's wonderful. A big project in fundraising is to go through the donor database and really sort it out and really focus on active and potential givers. And another tool is to identify, like John calls them hotspots, markers, people that may have particular potential to give a significant gift or even a new gift. Yeah, like the $1 million guy over there. And this really helps take limited resources and focus them where the biggest return might be. For 2019 and 2020, the development officers have started a 10-month training program through a company called Plus Delta. John, you've talked about this in the past. These trainings really have documented benefit in increased number of gifts, higher level gifts, more interpersonal approach to fundraising, confidence in the team, and satisfied donors. This year, more than $4 million in proposals have already been submitted to prospective donors. And of that, $1 million only in the last month alone. And as John mentioned, October 4th is the extravaganza and the start of a very nice weekend. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, that $1 million in the last month alone was right there. So thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. I'm betting 1,000. Thanks to you.
My guy.
Thank you.
There's no lie but liars forget.
Any questions on Eric's report?
I just want to say John has brought this office to a high standard level, the gold standard, and I'm so pleased that he saw the worth in the staff that came with the office, our own internal staff who have the talent to do this and the capacity and are excited about it. And I really appreciate, John, your work, and he's been on the road a lot, so that's what he says. If you see him in his office, he says he's not doing his job. So he's on the road a lot. So thank you.
Absolutely. Labor of love.
Yes, and I expect that these committees may be a little more active this year. We'll try to get everyone involved. John's done a great job in involving those that are on his committee, so we hope that they all get involved in that kind of activity.
Well, I know Tara's reaching out. Yep.
New business approval of the Greek MOU with the college, and we haven't had that really to read over, I don't believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it came out?
submitted it.
Okay,
It's on there.
okay, I have not seen it, but that's okay.
I'm gonna give the context, but I want Ann to walk us through it. As you know, this has been a work in progress for the last 4 years. The beauty of this, and I want Ann to talk more about it, is that it went through, it's a handbook to connect with the students. That's how we built the MOU. It's also gone through legal counsel. SUNY's legal counsel has seen it, and it's been vetted. But Ann, you want to talk about their excitement and how this has made a difference at the college already?
Absolutely. So, and as I said in the cover sheet, our Greeks were underground, as everybody knows. The safety zone was created by the president. And then students started sharing their stories. Kind of the good, the bad, the ugly. We heard it all. And we brought them to the table. One of the real benefits is we have been able to help these students move forward. So even when those kind of the bad and the ugly happens, now we know, and now we can partner with them to help move forward. There's been a few difficult situations that had we not had the Greek connection, we either A, wouldn't have known and never would have been able to help them, or B, we would have known and people just would have gotten angry. Instead, there's been a really wonderful partnership, and of course, Matt Barney has really led the charge on that. Along with Matt Lalonde, now we have Christina Pratt joining in. It goes without saying the yeoman's work the president has done these last 4 years on this topic. I was actually reading an article yesterday in Trends in the Chronicle, and it talked about the Greek system and how now the shift, and everybody's seen headlines on Greeks, but the shift of, instead of separating from Greeks, bringing them into the fold, and I was like, yes, that's exactly what we're doing. And also given the fact that the majority of the students in the Greek system are students of color. We were really doing a disservice to these students. They were looking for places to connect, and now we've given them a safe place to connect. So I'm really proud of that.
And Ann, talk about the service. They're not houses. It's a whole different orientation.
Yes, thank you. The community service alone, I wish I had the number at the top of my head. It was well over 1,000 hours of community service in the spring alone with the students. They've really worked, and actually they've worked wonderfully with SGA. SGA and the exec board, I really credit a lot of this to Cheyenne and her executive board, really have embraced the Greeks and have partnered with fundraisers, also community service and activities. So it's been a really nice embracing among the students. So we've been really delighted about that. And they are so grateful. We would say over these years of, you're putting yourselves in jeopardy. Oh, no, we have to do better. We're holding ourselves accountable. And then they would, for the most part. So it's really been a wonderful growth process. There are 6 Greek organizations, 2 local, 2 regional, 2 national. And we've worked really hard to make sure they all work really well together. But they know that there are certainly some rules and policies that they have to follow and they've been held accountable for. So it's been a good process. It's been really rewarding. And one last thing I'll say is, in all my years of doing this, you would have never heard me say, let's recognize Greeks. But that all changed when I came to SUNY Cobleskill and realized the benefits that these students bring to the campus and their needs. So it's been a pleasure to be part of that process.
Thanks for taking it on.
Well, thank you for your support. The other piece, if I may, is the hazing policy. And this would have needed to be rectified regardless of Greeks, so that's first page in. So you saw here with a very brief paragraph, and what SUNY wanted us to do is give more definition and put some meat on the bones of what exactly is hazing, because students don't sometimes realize that what they're doing may be hazing. And hazing, unfortunately, doesn't just happen in Greeks. It can happen in athletics, it can happen in clubs, Some of you may have seen headlines, it happens in marching bands across the country, so.
So Anne, as a part of this, because it's Greeks, but the hazing also is gonna show up with athletes and it's for the entire student body.
Yes.
But you put it into this particularly for the Greek, okay. I just want people
So this will
to,
go in our student handbook.
yeah,
So you're saying there's a similar thing for regular students? that are
yeah,
not in
that
Greek?
policy,
Yes, same
Yes,
thing.
thank you.
right. But of course, everybody just thinks Greeks, but Anne's right, athletics, think about it, you know, so. You want to approve one at a time, or are you comfortable, all of the council, to approve each one in total?
Why don't we approve one at a time,
Yeah.
just so it's on record
Yeah.
that this is a separate policy also. Is that
And-
okay with everyone?
Could I don't wanna make it contingent on a motion, just a couple of questions, and then
Yes.
I'd be happy to make the motion, this is really good. And my comments are in light of, the world in which we live, and some might say it's moving from the sublime to the ridiculous. But under the mission, talks about Greek life support diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yet we have sororities and fraternities. How would Greek life address gender neutrality?
Good question. That was a good question. You know, they really work hard to partner across the campus with other clubs and organizations. So whereas they are exclusionary in that respect, they work really hard to partner with other groups and also themselves with each other.
But Anne, isn't a sorority and a fraternity brother, sister?
Yeah. Right, so, for example, let me pull up my organization. So Sigma Omega Epsilon is the sorority, sibling sorority to Delta Omega Epsilon. Omega Kappa Mu fraternity would be the sibling to Iota Kappa Sigma. And then last but not least, our Ag fraternity and sorority, Alpha Gamma Rho and Sigma Alpha. So they're always partnering.
But it's the Greek world, but I think to your point, there may be ones out there or ones we create that could be co-ed, if you will.
Absolutely.
But what a great question. I also thought you were asking in terms of transgender, but I'm not sure you were.
Well, pardon my misuse of the words, but it was an all-inclusive
Yeah.
term.
Very, very important dynamic.
So a couple of lot more mundane than that. Are we thinking of having designated residence blocks in the old days of fraternities and sororities?
We're not.
Okay.
We're not. That sometimes just naturally happens because students sign up for rooms and they kind of get in the same general area. You know, for example, we don't do that with athletics either, but people tend to gravitate.
on there. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question too.
Now, I think under policies and new members, I think the criteria are great. 2 questions. If someone's turned down, is there an appeal process? And secondly, we're not gonna get into background checks, are we,
Background checks? No.
for membership in
No.
Greek organizations?
No, the only piece we could look at, or would look at, is their GPA and then their social standing at the college.
Okay.
So that's campus-based.
Yeah.
Appeal process, we hadn't thought about that. We should look into that.
We could, if it makes sense, if you are comfortable approving it, you could say pending and a review for the appeal process and bring it back. I don't know what you think, Oliver, if we could do that.
Certainly. No, I'd like, I know you need something on the books now.
That would be wonderful.
And,
Maybe an amendment.
Sure.
Yeah.
If it
Is
makes
that
sense.
okay with you, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the one thing I really like is, someone here talked about a fraternity group and a sorority group, and maybe a sorority member on the fraternity. I think that's really good when it comes to that.
And And the college council does that as well, where they cross.
So I'll affirm my motion to accept.
Before you do that,
Okay.
page 8, the crisis management statement, the second line there, it just doesn't read right. Can and be respond with a suspension.
Oh, thank you.
All right, just,
Thank you.
They read it, Ann, they read it.
As amended.
I've read it so many times now that I'm like,
As amended, I'm very
Thank you.
happy to
we will fix
propose a
that.
motion to accept both the,
Let's do them one at a time, one on
I'll
the,
take the Greek one.
on the hazing and then one on the Greeks.
Okay, so
I'll
which
take
one are-
The Greeks.
I'm
Greek.
I'll take either one. I'll
Okay.
take them both, two separate motions.
All right, let's take, because hazing is, the Greeks is listed first on the cover page. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the Greek MOU for the college.
A second.
Okay? Eric, you were going to,
We vote on that and then
Yes.
I'll make the other motion.
yeah, then we're going to vote on the hazing.
Yeah.
Okay? And you?
I second.
Second.
You seconded it? Okay, any questions or comments before we move on?
Does Cheyenne have the right to
Okay,
second?
all in favor of approving the Greek MOU with the college, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So carried.
Woo-hoo! We are official.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the hazing policy with the caveat that they bring it back to clarify the points raised.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Second, Linda? Okay, any question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So carried.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Okay, now our second, we have, need a motion for approval of non-monetary award nominees Ken Olcott, Sherry Stevens, and Howard Sidney. I thought we'd already approved Howard Sidney, but we'll approve him again.
Are we gonna do them one at a time or do them all together?
Let's do them all together.
Okay.
motion to approve.
Second? Bill, second? Okay, all in favor of approval of the nominees for non-monetary award, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So carried.
So the naming reception is on homecoming family weekend,
9:30.
9:30 at the theater. Okay, so it's the inaugural class. Okay.
Saturday, that's Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Whatever that date is, the 5th, I believe.
Yeah.
9:30, and I believe it's going to be in the theater, is that
Yes.
correct? And we'd hope that all the council is there to support this. This has been an issue on our table for, how many years? Five.
But we're there.
We're there. That and Greeks.
Okay,
Folks, I have to leave, I have 10:30.
thank you.
Take care,
For
Barb.
your hard work, Barb. Election of officers for 2019-20, and I'd like to start with the vice chair. Any nominations for vice chair?
I would like to nominate Eric Stein.
Any other nominations? Okay, is this okay with you, Eric? All in favor of approval of Eric Stein for the vice chair for the College Council for this academic year 2019-20, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So carried. Secretary.
I'm sorry. Turnabout square plate. How was that friendship?
Do we have a nomination? That's funny. Come on now, gang. You don't have much work to do. Okay? All right,
She's well.
I'm nominated.
okay.
Frank might be out too.
Do I hear a second? Second? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Tracy.
Yay.
Okay, we adjourn, and then we do have, for the council members, a retreat, that
Won't take long.
won't take long process. Okay, thank you all for coming in.
Take a 5-minute break. Anybody want a cup of coffee or anything?
Just a minute, I forgot. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So carried.
You get a 5-minute break.
5-minute break.